Hello, welcome, everyone. We are here at Kingdom Empowerment, where your host is Pastor Tito Paul, and he's not with us today, but I am your co host, Lady V, and you have your co host, Dr. Yvonne Bennett. How are you today, Dr. Bennett?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. We're standing in the gap for Pastor Tito Paul. We know that he's
Yeah.
a little bit under the weather, but he'll be above the weather in a minute.
Yes. We want to welcome our Caribbean jammers to the show today and all of our viewers from all walks of life. Welcome. So we have been talking about financial prosperity for the last 4 weeks, and we kind of wanted to do a little twist today because we realized in order for one to have financial prosperity, they also have to have a job. So wanted to talk today about the hindrances that we're facing with people not getting employed, because I think that sometimes, especially our young people, maybe they haven't been informed of some of the reasons why they're not getting hired. So we wanted to talk about it today. Everybody is still in the pandemic, so employment is kind of crazy. Some people are not wanting to go back to work, some are trying to go back to work, but I think that we have so many things that reasons why people are not getting employed. So I'm going to ask Dr. Bennett to, what do you think some of the reasons are?
Well, I'll tell you this first. First of all, I um, I had an opportunity in the market a few days ago, seeing two young uh, students. They were students. In fact, I asked this one young man, I said, "Are you two? Are you four?" He looked so young. And the other one looked young as well. And they both told me they were 17. They were stacking up the milk counters. And I mean, they were just going at it. But I think a lot of times people are unemployed because they're looking for a certain employment. If you need a job and you have no income, some income is better than no income. And I had to celebrate and salute these two young men because they were in high school. They were both 17, so that means now this year they're seniors. And they were really, really working. And I was really impressed with seeing how they were carrying themselves. So I think one of the reasons why there are some people that um, are unemployed is because they're looking maybe to make the same amount of money that they made before. During the pandemic, yes, I have to say, you see help wanted signs everywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere. But they also know that they can get people to work for less because people are looking for jobs. So sometimes you have to take a job making less than what you were making before. And one of the other things is knowing how to present yourself, knowing how to groom yourself before you go to the job. You don't just get up and go looking for a job or talk to a person over the telephone. People over the telephone can tell whether or not you're really interested in a job. It depends on the lingo that you use. You don't use words like and yo and things of that nature because and if you're in person, please don't shake your head. Use your words. So there's a number of reasons why people are still not being hired. Number one, you have to want to work. If you want to work, you can find a job. But then you have to know how to look for a job and where to look for a job.
Well, I think that too, appearance is everything. I think that when we when I was growing up, I was taught how to dress when you go on the interview. You want to make sure that you're not wearing anything that's revealing. You want to make sure that you are when you walk in, because the bottom line is you're selling yourself. So you want it to be where when you walk in that room That's the first thing they see. Perception is everything. So they're looking at your hair, they're looking at your nails, they're looking at you don't want to give too much to the overkill. When you walk in, you want to make sure if you do wear eyelashes that they're very low key, they're conservative. If you have a hairdo, you don't want to go in with a multicolored hair. You don't want to go in with tattoos all on your face and things of that nature, because then that sometimes gives off a statement. And I think that, you know, today everybody is kind of like, well, I just want to be myself. Yeah, you can be yourself, but there's still rules to gaining employment. And sometimes you can be overlooked depending on what you've done to yourself. Now, where you're going to get a job is something different. If you're going to get a job at a tattoo parlor, then yeah, you can go in and you can be tatted up. But if you're trying to get a job at a bank, you're trying to get a job at in corporate world, you're not going to get that, and you have all of that going on. So you have to look at where you're trying to get the job, so you're not hindering yourself from getting it. And then I think, as Dr. Bennett said, it's your verbiage. It's the things that you say. You want to make sure that one of the things that I found when I'm interviewing people is they get a little hesitant when you ask them, uh, name three things, positive things, and name three negative things. The negative still needs to be a positive. It can't be, oh, well, I don't show up at work on time, or, I tend to be lazy, or you don't want to say those things, because 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get hired. So a lot of times I think that it's how you present yourself, how you present your from the dress all the way down, and sometimes it can be a little complicated when it comes to younger people, because we're in this world today where everybody is on the, I want to dress casual, I don't find the need to dress up, and you know it's all kinds of things. One of the things I realized too that is definitely hindrance to getting a job is being able to pass a background check, and also being able to pass a drug test. A lot of times people not thinking, well, they're like, marijuana is, legal, so I should be able to go out there and smoke up and still get a job. No, if not, if you have to take a drug test, because they're not going to hire you regardless of if it's legal or not. So that is definitely a hindrance. What do you think, Dr. Bennett?
It's a hindrance, and like you said, appearance has everything to do with it. And also, when your just your approach, it's nothing wrong with saying good morning.
Mm.
You going on an interview, you say good morning, even if the people don't speak. You say good morning or good afternoon. It's important that because first impressions are lasting impressions. You want to make sure that you present yourself properly from the very beginning. And also, when you're applying for a job, make sure you use when it comes to references, make sure you use people that can write, or that can speak, because that has everything to do with it. Just because you're your main person in your life, your ace boon coon, so to speak, that's your buddy, but that person may not have good verbiage, that person may not know how to approach, that person may not know how to write the proper referral, and they look at all of that, because they look at, birds of a feather flock together. If you send ask for a referral, and this person sends something to a company, I ain't his friend, or I ain't her friend, because I ain't, you have to be very, very selective who you use as a reference, because that can really be the open door for you. Who you know. Sometimes it's not what you know, it's who
No.
you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that so the question is, um when you talk about getting a job or even keeping a job, you know even once you get the job, some of the professional things like coming to work on time. If you come to work, come to an interview late, people are automatically going to think that you're not a timely person. You
Mhm.
know, so those things are to have to be taken into consideration too. You know, when you are on an interview and you're on your and you haven't turned your cell phone off and put your cell phone away, that means that that may be, you know, um indication that you are going to be on your cell phone a lot once you get to work. So it's all kinds of things that employers look at today. They look at you know, how well you handle you know, when you're going through the questions and the answers, how well do you answer it? You know, are you answering it clear? Are you stuttering? You know, are you hesitant? So it's all kinds of things that I think people encounter when they're going through the interview process. But then once you get hired, it's keeping the job. You have to be able
That's
to keep.
true. That's true. And also, personal hygiene is
Oh yes,
very important.
absolutely.
Personal hygiene is extremely important because you're going to be talking to these people. You want to
Yes.
make sure that your breath is good. You want to make sure that your body is intact. So you
Mhm.
shower and you freshen up real nice because it's very important. It's extremely important because people look at all those types of things. And like Lady V said, the timing, you want to make sure that you get to the interview ahead of time. It's better to be early than to be late. You don't start out, if you have a 9 o'clock interview, you don't start out at 8:30 because you can run into traffic. Anything can happen. You always allow yourself at least an hour so you can get there in plenty of enough time. You can go to the restroom, you can come out, and you can be refreshed. And these are key points that people need to follow when you're looking for a job. And Lady D mentioned something about a background check. You definitely have to know that they do background checks in most jobs right now. But when a person gives you an opportunity after, before taking a background check, and they ask you if you've ever had any type of crime or so forth and so on, if you didn't check that box, or if you checked it and they look at it, be honest with the people. Be very, very honest with them. Make sure you're honest and open and tell them what happened, because when you're honest and open, sometimes people can give you a pass, and especially now because people are cleaning up their act, so to speak, because some people do really want to work. They really do. But the way to find a job is to look every day. If you're
Oh yeah.
serious about going to work, you have to look every day. You can't pick it up on Monday and don't look again until the next Monday. You have to look every day to find a job.
Absolutely. And going back to the background check, a lot of times employers will ask you, you know, is there something that I need to know before I even pull the background check? It
Right.
pays sometimes, it pays to be honest. You know, it pays to let them know that, you know, okay, yeah, I got in some trouble 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but if you give me an opportunity, I will show you that I am a person of integrity, a person of character. And but when you lie and say no, and then it comes back as yes, it makes it a little bit harder for you know, for them to trust you. So what would you say is like an appropriate attire for a woman getting a job, Dr. Bennett?
Well,
What the appropriate colors
yeah,
and
yeah. The appropriate colors would be your black, your gray, your brown. You don't want to go in with flashy colors because colors speak a language. So they make a statement, so to speak. So you want to stick with a basic pair of pants that's not fitting tight. Business attire, a blouse with not cleavage showing. For a guy, a tie, a necktie, or a collared shirt. Nice pair of pants. Just just nice. You have to you have to make that appearance. You definitely have to make that appearance. And no matter what time of day it is, you go looking your best. And also, when you have on the application the previous jobs that you've been to, if you have a job listed and they ask you why, and you say you were let go, you need to be honest why they let you go.
Mm.
They will find out. You need to be honest. If it was because of your tardiness, if it was because you were ill too much, whatever it was, you need to tell the truth.
Absolutely, absolutely, because they're going to do a background check on you. They are going to find out. They'll do references, and again, the real you will come out. If you haven't changed, once you get the job, you're going to have the same problems that you had at the previous job. So it does make sense to just be honest and say, this is why I didn't get a job. But what about the tattoos and things of that nature?
Well, um, you know, a lot of times people don't understand. You get these tattoos when you're young, but you're not going to be young forever. So, these things are hard to get off. If you have tattoos, you have to make sure that you have proper attire to kind of conceal them somewhat, because a lot of companies today, a lot of people have tattoos, even CEOs. So people don't, I don't think today, knock you so hard for tattoos. But if you have tattoos, you don't want to go in showing them.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them may show, but I don't think it's a big deal. Me as a CEO of my company, if I were interviewing a person with tattoos, a tattoo wouldn't shake my world. It really wouldn't. But it depends on how you're showing it. If you have tattoos where all of it's all over your chest, all over your arms, then you wear a blouse as a woman that covers some of that up. A man covers some of that up, as with a shirt. You don't have to flaunt it, in other words. But
Right.
I think today people realize that people do have the desire to tattoo. And while you're on that subject, you have to be careful of piercings. Be very, very careful of piercings. Piercings in your nose, piercings in your cheekbones. You have to be careful of that, because it makes a statement of who you are. And that doesn't mean that you're a bad person. That doesn't mean that you're wrapped up into a gang or anything like that. But you would be surprised at the people that will judge you. So keep it low key. If you have a piercing, wear it later. You don't have to wear it
Yeah,
on the interview.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that again, you know, um even your earrings, you want to make sure that your jewelry is not an overkill. Your nails are not an overkill, because sometimes it's a hindrance, and sometimes it brings attention to, takes away the attention from the interview, because the person is so busy looking at the earrings that are this big, the nails that are this long. You want to go in as simple as possible, so that when the person that's interviewing you, you're keeping it simple. You're keeping it very, very simple. You don't they We don't want to, I think we don't want it to be where we're just flamboyant, or we're just out there,
Right.
because sometimes and when it comes to your communication, you have to always use the correct grammar.
And that's very important, extremely important. And make sure too that your resume is not a book,
Mm.
because people don't want to read a lot. They really don't want to read a lot. You make it as simple as possible, but clear. Make sure it's clear. Give your previous jobs, your current employment, past employment, current employment. And when it comes to references, references upon request. You always indicate that, to let them know that if you need references from me, I can supply what you need. Those things
Absolutely.
are very, very important. And makeup is another thing. You don't
Oh,
want to go over the top with a
Yeah.
bunch of makeup on, and you know, you're looking to work for a company, but you're also representing that company, and you don't know who's going in and out. So you have to be very, very careful. And you also want to be careful because you want people to, you want to do well on your job, and you want to be elevated. You don't want to stay in
True.
the same position. You want promotion.
Well,
So,
not that, and you want to make sure too, like you wear, you if your shirt is below the line, you want to make sure you don't have your breast showing. You want to make sure that one of the biggest pet peeves that I have is when I see women, they sit down. You want to make sure when you sit down, you have a long enough something to tuck in so that your hindsight, is covered, because a lot of times we don't think that anybody pays attention to that, but they do. And you know it's again, it's such a hindrance, because you're looking and you're like, oh wow, you want to make sure that whatever shoes you have on, uh especially open toe shoes, make sure your nails are done, your toes are polished, or your feet are clean, because people are looking at the first thing they see is what's being presented to them, so they're drawing all of the information off of just the way you look.
it's true. It's very, very true. And you have to make sure that uh, Lady V mentioned jewelry. Watch your jewelry wearing for that particular time. You have nice jewelry, that's great, but you don't have to put it all on to go on an interview.
Right.
Because you once again you're making a statement, and you want to make the right statement. So when you're looking for a job, um, always remember this, that people are looking for people that will add to their company. They want the person that they hire to be an asset. You don't have to give everything that you know, but make sure you give enough, and less is best. Don't just uh, say too much. If they ask you about your computer skills, have some specific words. I do know PowerPoint. Yes, I do. I know Word. I'm familiar with the software. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And they'll take it from there. But don't imply that you know something that you don't know, because it will show. They'll find out what you don't know.
That is true. That is true. And it's always, you can also add, but I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to,
Yes.
and
Yes.
make sure your resume does not have gaps in employment, because that's something that people look at too. It shows the integrity of how long you keep a job. A lot of times when they see that you worked and then you haven't worked in 7 years, and now you're going back and you're trying to look for a job, they're going to ask you, well, what have you been doing those years that you've been
Right.
unemployed?
Right.
I see that you work 3 months here, you work 4 months here, you work 5 months here. What's going to make us hire you where you're going to be consistent at being employed?
Hmm. That's right. And that's a key point. That's a very key point, because and you don't want to lie on your resume. Please don't lie on your resume.
Yes.
Don't, some people pump up resumes for people, and they have make believe jobs and so forth and so on.
Mm.
Just give them state on your resume what you've really done, so people will know who you are, because when you get hired, it won't take them but a minute to find out.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. I think that also you want to make sure you have a means of transportation. Now, you may not have a vehicle, but you have to have some type of transportation that's reliable for you to get to where you're going. It can't just be where, okay, I get a job and that job is about 30, 45 minutes away. Make sure that you have transportation that's going to be able to get you there, and affordable transportation. If you're
Mhm.
going to take Uber, you have to already map that out. if you're trying to um if you're trying to get lift or whatever, you got to make sure that it's what is going to get you to where you're trying to go.
That's true. That's true. Your transportation, and when they ask you if you have transportation, just be
Hmm.
honest. Be honest. If you don't have transportation, you let them know. You know what means of transportation you plan to use, because that's important. And also, when you're in an interview, when you're being interviewed, and the question comes up about the pay. Now, some people go in with this high number,
Hmm.
and you have no idea how much the job pays, because most jobs do not state that in the newspaper or on the internet. But if it is on the internet, say for instance it's on the internet, where the pay is going to be, say, from uh, 45,000 a year to $60,000 a year. You don't choose the $60,000 a year. You meet them in the middle, but you don't want to say the $45,000 a year either, because you definitely want to make sure that you get met in the middle. So if it's, say, 45,000 to 60,000. Now you know what you were making before. You were making maybe 32,000. So they know that. Trust me, they'll know, because they'll know exactly what type of work you were doing. So if it's a 45 range and 60, you want at least 50. Absolutely. You want at least 50, because that will be more than you were working before. So you have to make sure that when you give out how much you're expecting, make sure that you tell them, I'm willing to accept this, but I know that I'm worth more, but I'm willing to prove myself to you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. You want to make sure that you're clear on not only pay but benefits and things of that nature. Sometimes you got to take something too to get to where you want to go. Sometimes we I know everybody wants to um get that great job, but if you are talking about supporting yourself, you might have to take something until you can do better.
Absolutely, because on most jobs you do have days off.
Hmm.
Okay, you have time, and it's always best to get your foot in the door. Get your
Yeah.
foot in the door, and a foot in the door opens other doors. And I take my own personal experience. I took a job out of high school. I worked all through high school. In fact, I worked at a dime store. After that, I worked at Rite Aid downtown Newark. I mean,
Hmm.
I wasn't afraid to take jobs like that. But I started working in New York, and I got hired at Solomon Brothers, and that was a highlight for me. And
Yeah.
then there was a supervisor, and then from there, after I had my second child, I saw a job in the newspaper. But in the meantime, I didn't stop. I took a job at Globus Electric, and I didn't know anything about a computer. That's when the basic computer first came out. All I knew was the IBM card and that big old machine. That's all I knew. But I saw an ad in the paper where they were looking for a supervisor that knew the computer. Well, when I got there and they started asking me questions, I said, yes, 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 I do know. I have, the basic computer, and worked with it. And I did for 2 days. But they knew nothing. They knew absolutely nothing. But I stayed on that job. I stayed there sometimes till 11 and 12 o'clock at night, teaching myself that computer. So sometimes you have to do that. But they
Definitely.
knew nothing. So they were excited. And at that time in 1979, I was hired on that job making $240 a week. That was a lot of money. It was like, wow. And I worked on that job for 23 years. And that's a blessing until my work time was up.
Yeah, I think that knowing technology is definitely a plus, because I don't see any job that you're working today that you're not going to know technology. Technology as far as Microsoft, Excel. Make sure that you do a trial typing test. Just keep yourself up on technology, because that's going to determine what type of job you get.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure that um, you brush up on your vocabulary, because how we talk to our friends and how we talk to our loved ones is totally different than how you speak when you're trying to get a job. You can't say, oh yeah, whatever. You may be able to do that when you're with your friends, but when you're trying to get a job, they're looking at how do you use your words. Your body language is everything.
Everything.
So you don't want to slouch. You don't want to sit there, suck your teeth. You don't want to do any of that. You want to make sure that you present you fresh, so that the person that's interviewing you has already made a decision before they can get um before they even get to whether or not they want to hire you. They're already looking at everything that you say, and they're making that. And remember, you're in competition with other people,
That's
so
right.
what is going to make that person want to hire you above everybody else?
That's
You
right.
have something that is a distinctive feature that says, hire me over all of the rest of the candidates. So remember, it's presentation is definitely everything. It is
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. And I want to give you, those of you that are listening, I want to give you a real good tip when you're going on an interview. Always find something that you can comment on in a positive way of the person, about the person that you're with. You can comment, "Ooh, wow, like your hair," or things on the wall. "Ooh, this is very impressive." "Oh, I'm really proud of you," if their name is on it, you know. And make sure you come off in a personal way. Oh, when they come in, and another thing too, along with this, if the person that's going to interview you is late, please don't show a face.
Hmm.
Don't show a face or a sign of, you know,
Absolutely.
you want me to be on time and you ain't on time. No. The person will come in and say something like, I'm sorry, I'm late. You say, oh, no, no problem, no problem, no problem. And I hope everything is okay, you know. And, I like your hair, or you find something that you can comment on. That is a plus.
Absolutely. And also know something about the company that
Yes,
you're interviewing for.
yes,
To ask you, what do you know about this company? What you are applying for a job, for a position at a
right,
company. You need to know just a couple of bullet points about the company, and
right,
make sure that you are aware of what's on your resume. Because a
right,
lot of times when they ask you questions, and you didn't do your resume or you didn't read it over, you're going to stumble when they ask you a question. Well, what happened when you worked here? Well, what's that on my resume? No, you should know what's on your resume.
right.
Always kind of do your homework.
Yes.
Know some of the questions that they ask on an interview. Like, what is your I think one of the ones that always gets me when I interview people is when I ask them, what is their 5-year goal? What's your long term?
Mhm, mhm.
Have an answer. You can't. You don't ever say,
I
I
don't know.
don't know.
Mm, I don't know.
Never say that. Never say,
And
I don't know.
right. And when they ask you questions like, give me a reason why you want to work for this company? Because I need a job. No,
No.
no,
Never.
no, no. That's why it's important to know something about the company that you're applying for, when you're applying for a job. That is so key,
Yeah.
because the more intelligent you appear to be, the better chance you have of getting the job. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You never want to say those there's a certain things you don't want to say.
Right.
And make sure that when they ask you about yourself, this is another one for me. When I interview, I'm looking at not only tell me a little bit about you, not the job that you just came from, but they're wanting to know something about you. You want to, you're again, you're selling yourself. So you want to say, uh, a little bit about you personally. They want to know because they're looking for what type of character do you have? Are you outgoing? What are your hobbies? Oh, I like to bowl. I'm a part of a league or something. You want to make sure that when they ask you about you, it goes beyond the professional side. Give them a little bit about yourself so that they can know, okay, this is who I'm hiring. That you have an active life, that you're going to come in and you're not going to just sit. Oh, I'm involved in this. I love helping people. You want to make sure that you're giving them the total picture of who you are. And when I think another question is that people stumble on is when they're asked, tell me something. If I had to ask your previous employer about you, what would they say? You want to make sure you get positive things. You don't want to say, oh, well, they're going to say I'm always late. No, you don't want to say that. They're not going to hire you.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
you want to make sure that you don't stumble over your questions, but come prepared. Definitely come prepared. One of the things that is really horrible in interviewing is when you're rushing to get there, and now you're lost for words. So you want to make sure that you come early, that you looked over your notes, you looked over the company and what the company is about, so that you're fresh and you're going in to present yourself.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. And you need to make sure that you answer all the questions as clearly as clearly clear as possible. That is so important,
Yeah.
because when you do that, you want to make sure that you, first of all, you want to make sure that you're knowledgeable, and this is key. Don't put down the last company that you worked
Oh
for.
yeah, definitely.
Please don't do that. You know, if they'll ask you, why did you leave that job? I
Yeah.
I wanted to advance. I learned a lot there. It's a good company, and I met good people. You know, the leadership there is good, but I wanted a change. I wanted to make sure that I uh, have an opportunity to be an asset with all of that, all the things that I've learned. I can be a better asset to another type of company. You explain yourself. Don't say, I left for more money. Please don't ever say that. That's not good. And Lady V was talking about electronics. You see these AirPods? Don't go with an AirPod.
Oh yeah,
Leave it
definitely.
in the case. Please leave it in the case. You don't have to wear an AirPod. You just, and your telephone, make sure that it is off.
Yeah.
Make sure it's off. You don't want any distractions, none whatsoever,
And
because
being,
this is your life. Like Lady V said, you're selling yourself.
yeah,
And when you're selling yourself, you want to come forth as the best product ever. Like, I'm the man, I'm the woman that is for this job.
yep,
And and what you have to do is you have to convince them. Lady V said it earlier. You don't want to slouch. You don't want to
right.
slump. You sit straight up, because you're selling yourself. You're selling your talent. You're selling your expertise. You're selling your knowledge. You want the job. So I'm the one. I'm the one. And you have to, and when you close, at the closing of an interview, always make sure you thank the person. I thank you. If they say, we'll be in touch, I thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity
Mm-hmm.
to have had an opportunity to have an interview with such a prestigious company. I thank you. I look forward to your call.
Yes, absolutely.
Always close out with a positive.
And smile during the
Yes,
interview. A
yes,
smile will get you everywhere. When you come in and you're serious, a lot of times people don't know really if you're going to be pleasant, to work with. So you want to make sure you smile. But also, when they ask you if you have any questions,
yes.
come with questions.
Hmm.
Don't say no, I don't have anything. No, you should have at least three questions
At
that
least
that
three.
if you've done your homework with the company and you know what you're looking for in a company, you should have some questions. So you want to make sure that you have questions lined up for that company. But also, um, it's one more thing that make sure you bring a copy of your resume and
Hmm.
bring a copy of your cover letter. Even though it's already been sent to them, you want to make sure you have a copy in your hand because a lot of times they don't print it. So sometimes they may ask, "Did you bring your resume with you?" Always bring and bring your resume clean. Don't have something spilt on it. Don't have grease marks on it. That's not what you want to do. You want to make sure if you have something, a pen and a pad, you have something that you can jot down notes with
Yes,
well,
yes.
but it needs to be something presentable. You may want to have like a little I used to carry a tache case, and have my things in there, where you have a pen and a pad and things of that nature, just so you can jot down anything because you don't want to pull your cell phone out. That's what you don't want
No, you don't want to do
to,
that. You don't want to do that. And in saying all that too, make sure that you do take notes because that's important for them to see that you know how to take notes. You want to bring yourself a pad and you want to take notes. And with regard to asking questions when that time is allowed, you have done your homework, so you pretty much know a little bit about the company, but you want to ask questions like how long has the company been in existence? You want to know that because some companies have just started 2 years. I mean, they haven't even gotten their feet wet. So you want to know, the longevity of this company. Okay, you want to ask things like they sometimes they do or automatically volunteer the financial package like 401k and so forth and so on. Your comments would be that's excellent. That's excellent because that's important for people to have benefits when they're working for a company. Give them feedback. Say things like that. That's a plus to have a 401k, so forth and so on. You make sure that you comment on it. You don't want to make them think that you're not knowledgeable of a 401k.
exactly, exactly. And you also want to be prepared for uncomfortable questions. Sometimes people can ask you something that you may not know how to answer. Some of those uncomfortable questions may be like, tell me a time that you may not have agreed with your supervisor or something like that. Those are uncomfortable questions, so you want to prepare for it. You may not have had that situation, but you may have. You want to prepare for every possible question that they could ask you so that you're coming across with the right answers. The last thing is you want to make sure when you come in that you're not hung over from the day before. You're not high. Because I've interviewed people that have come in and they've had smoke on their breath or whatever. You want to make sure that you come in and you don't have any type of odors that give off that you drink, that you smoke marijuana, that you smoke cigarettes. You want to, even if you do, you don't want to give that impression because that may hinder you from getting a job. So you
Yes,
won't want to have any type of odors going on in your clothes. You
and,
know,
and that's good. And most of all, when you're going on an interview, before you go on the interview, pray.
yeah.
Please pray. Pray and ask God, the Holy Spirit, to open up that door if it be His will. It's important that you pray. Pray before you go. Find a scripture that relates to what you want to do, working for this company, a job that you need. You'll find scriptures that pertain to that. So definitely pray. And when you go on this interview, when you go on an interview, one of the first things that you want to do, with Lady V said it, you want to make sure that you don't have what you did the night before or that morning to show. If you
Yeah,
are a smoker, if you are a drinker, that's very, very key, because people today are looking for people to be an asset in their company and not somebody that's going to take 9 and 10 and 11 smoke breaks. They're not looking for that. Now that may happen, but they're not looking for that. It's a turnoff. It really is a turnoff. So you have to be very, very careful. It's important that you present yourself as you would want someone to present themselves to you. That's important.
exactly. And never bring your children on the interview.
Right.
Never. Always make sure, even if someone drops you off and you have your child in the car, let that person drive your child around. Anything that's going to distract you from getting this job, you want to eliminate. Make sure your phone is turned off. And I know a lot of people wear the iPhone, the Apple Watches. Make sure that your watch is on silent, because you don't want your watch to be buzzing while you're interviewing. You want to make sure that all electronics are put away, like Dr. Bennett said, your AirPods or whatever. You want to make sure all of that stuff is put away so that it doesn't distract you from what's being said, because you want to make sure that you're hearing everything that the person says. But the last thing is, even with saying thank you, always send a follow-up email
Yeah.
thanking them for the interview.
That's
Let the company know, I appreciate you considering me today, and thank you for the interview. I really enjoyed the communication and look forward to
yeah.
hearing from you soon.
And, and I want to add one thing too, Lady V. If you're asked, if you're a woman and you're asked if you have children, and you say yes, they will ask, what provision have you made for your child or your children while you work? You have to be honest. You can't say, well, I sent them to my mama's, and no, no, no. You come off and let them know that I have a secure place for my children to be cared for. Those are the words you use, cared for.
Yeah,
Okay? Not I sent them. No, cared for. And the same with the man, because there are some men that take care of their children because they have custody of their children. Make sure that you say, I do have people or a person that cares for my child or my children. That's reliable. Use words like cared for and reliable.
and one more thing, because they do ask, do you have any medical concerns that will
Yes.
keep you from getting a job? You want to be honest, especially if it's something where you're going to have to take some sort of medication, insulin, allergies, anything like that is really important to let the employer know. I know a lot of people say, well, that's confidentiality, not if it's going to cause you to miss work. The employer should know that you have a medical condition, that is going to interfere with you coming to work.
Yes,
Now, it's not going
some
to.
jobs will ask, some places will ask, are you on any type of medication? Mhm.
And now ask too if you have any medical conditions that's going to interfere with your job. If you know your job requires you to lift and you can't lift, then that's not the job for you. If you
Right.
know your job, you have a medical condition that may cause you to be out of work more than at work. That may be something that you need to discuss with that employer, because they need to know that you're not going to be able to be in once or twice a week. That might be the determining factor whether or not you're going to get hired, but you want to be honest with them.
Right. And standing. If you have a problem standing, and let's take it from the top. Don't apply for jobs if the information is there that you know that you don't fit into. If you know you're a person that can't stand throughout the day, don't apply for that job. Just don't, because
Right.
you can't go in and say, well, I can't stand too long. I
Mm.
have to know that the job, sometimes the description is there, standing, sitting. If you know you're not the type of person that can sit all day, you have to make sure that you apply for the job, that you yourself know yourself.
That's true. That's true. Absolutely. And I think that that is really a key factor. If you, whatever job you're looking for, make sure that you can work it. Make sure that you're the right person, because companies they spend a lot of money investing in trainings and things of that nature. And for you to get trained, that costs the company lots of money. And
Yeah.
for you to have not been honest with any of those things, it will really cause a problem.
Yes.
So I think that people just need to be honest in what they can and cannot do.
That's very true. That's very true. So, to recap, make sure that when you go in on an interview, know that you're selling yourself. So, when you're selling yourself, you want to bring that product to the people looking the best, smelling the best, and knowing the best. The
Yes.
best about anything that could ever come. And don't be so don't take it as being a negative if you have to hesitate to answer something. Sometimes when you answer a question too quickly, you haven't really understood. And if you don't understand a question, don't be ashamed to say, excuse me, would you repeat that? Don't say, huh? What did you say? And
Right.
don't use words like what. No, that's not professional. You're going into a company, and whatever company it is, you have to present yourself as a professional person. So if you don't understand something, if you don't understand a question, just say, excuse me, would you be kind enough to repeat that again? So you can get it. And then you can chop it down and answer the parts that you know about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I hope that this has been um, helpful to those who are looking for employment. There are a lot of recruiters out there. There are a lot of jobs that are looking for qualified people. A lot of people are not wanting to go back to work. So companies are looking for people everywhere. Um, they are looking for people, unfortunately, that are vaccinated, but they can't hold it right now against you if you're not. So go in with a positive attitude. We're gonna definitely have to comply to the COVID rules, because I think that that makes a little bit difference in the work force now. But whatever the case may be, you know, don't let it be where you're hindering yourself from finding a job. We want you to be able to get back out there and work and get your income up, so we can follow some of those things that have been talked about uh, weeks prior, so that we can start managing our finances better.
Right, right. And on the vaccination part, sometimes now, and especially now, after you've gone through the interview, you may be asked the question, are you vaccinated? And if you have not been vaccinated and the interviewer says, well, we would prefer that you're vaccinated to work here. Now you have to make a decision. You have to make a decision whether or not you're willing to get vaccinated. You
Yeah,
can't say things like, "No, I'm not doing that," because you may be confronted with that with the next job and the next job, because people are putting it out there now. You do have a right to make that decision, but they also have the right not to hire you if you're not vaccinated.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Dr. Bennett, this has been a great show. I think that everyone has been informed. Again, you've been watching Kingdom Empowerment and with Pastor Tito Paul. He is the host of the show. He is out today, but I am your co-host, Lady V, and your co-host, Dr. Yvonne Bennett. And we want to thank all of our viewers for joining us today. If you have any comments or any questions, please, please, please put it in the box. And until next week, we are going to say goodbye, and we will see you all at 5 o'clock next week, next Wednesday. Until then, God bless.
God bless.